We all know what it's like to be bombarded with text messages, phone calls, and emails. Although some people might not mind overcommunication, for many others, it can be overstimulating. When overstimulation happens, important messages can be missed. In discussions with WPS wraparound coordinators this past school year, overcommunication has been some of the most common feedback we've heard. In this video, the WPS Communications Office will give you some tips on how to effectively use ParentSquare without over-communicating with your families. Let's begin with a refresher on how notifications work in ParentSquare. More often than not, how families receive notifications will depend on their own personal notification settings. On this slide, you will find information about the most frequent communication tools on ParentSquare and how they will notify your families. For all notifications, a parent will receive a text message and email unless turned off in their own personal notification settings. There are two notification settings that we recommend: Digest and Instant. Please keep in mind that scheduling posts in advance helps avoid sending notifications outside of reasonable hours. When possible, try to avoid sending communications past 6 p.m. If a family says they are receiving too many notifications, we advise they select the Digest option in their personal notification settings. The most frequent tools you'll use on ParentSquare are Studio Editor, Calendar, Forms, Translations, Post and Messages, and Live Support. This is a non-exhaustive list, and there are more ways than these to communicate with your families on ParentSquare. But for today's conversation, let's hone in on the most frequent tools at your disposal. Studio Editor allows you to create newsletters or merge multiple posts into one single communication to families. Studio Editor also allows you to create branded templates, save them, and reuse throughout the year. There are also plenty of preloaded templates for easy customization. Do you have multiple posts scheduled for the same day? If so, consider using Studio Editor to consolidate your post into one single post. This means one notification will be sent to your families. Would your principal like to send a weekly, monthly, or quarterly communication to families? Studio Editor allows you to do that and allows you to create newsletters to use throughout the school year. Newsletters are another clever way to limit the number of posts you're making by rounding up all information you want to share with your families into one consistent format. The calendar on ParentSquare works just like a Google Calendar. You can even sync your Google Calendar to ParentSquare using an iCal link. Adding events to the calendar does not notify families, but being consistent with updating your calendar on ParentSquare gives them a reliable spot to find out what's coming up at your school. Through this feature, families can also add upcoming events to their own personal calendars, helping them stay on top of all school-related events. If you currently use the post feature to notify families about upcoming events or dates of importance, we suggest using the calendar feature instead. By doing this, you'll avoid over-communicating since there's no notification being sent. Upcoming events and dates of importance will also be easier to find. And lastly, it sets an expectation on where to find this type of information. If you want to bring more awareness to an event, you can do so strategically by using the post feature to attach a calendar listing directly to your post. Forms can be a supplement to paper forms, permission slips, or consent forms that you may already be sending home for your families to sign. Forms work just like a Google form, allowing you full customization of your form. It's important to note that parents need a ParentSquare account to be able to digitally sign forms. We encourage all families create an account on ParentSquare so they have access to features like these. Forms will need to be attached to a post for families to fill out. Please keep in mind this will send them a notification. Forms do not translate automatically, so to generate translations for each language, remember to click that language at the top of the page. Although ParentSquare translates automatically, there are some important things to keep in mind. Whenever you make changes to your content, you will need to regenerate that translation using the Retranslate from English button, often found at the bottom left of the page. When you make changes to content, you will also see a yellow notification box letting you know to retranslate your content. Most of you are familiar and comfortable sending posts and messages. The most important thing to note is that both of these features will notify your families through a text message and an email. Be mindful of the frequency and timing of notifications. Consider if there's another way to share information to avoid sending that notification. And also, remember to schedule posts in advance to avoid sending notifications outside of respectful hours. The best times to schedule a post are between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. The communications office is always here to help you with ParentSquare. But if you're in a pinch or need a quick question answered, click the question mark at the top of the screen to talk with a ParentSquare rep. ParentSquare also has tons of help articles that you can use to learn more about the platform. Now let's give a quick recap of today's video. Notification settings are determined by each individual user. Advise against turning off notifications, but be mindful not to send too many. Before making a post, first consider, is a notification necessary for this information? If not, is there another tool I can use to prevent a notification? Be consistent with the tools you use to communicate and when you communicate. Families will learn to anticipate your ways of communicating with them. And use the live support feature whenever you're stuck or need a question answered quickly. For any questions that you may have following today's presentation, email the WPS Communications Office and we're happy to help.